Deputies Clare Daly and Maureen O'Sullivan. I understand you're sharing time. 5 minutes each.
Thanks, Corla. After listening to the Minister, I'm really torn between whether I should start laughing or crying, because the idea of helping the unemployed to fulfil their responsibilities and not be so dependent on the welfare state is so ridiculous in terms of life on the ground that it doesn't really bear thinking about. Many people who've worked a lifetime, what they need to get back to work is jobs. There can't be any economic recovery without jobs, and therein lies the problem for this government, because the biggest indictment of your record so far after 20 months is that there are less people in work now than there were when you took office. And you can waffle on all you like about all the fancy named programmes under your department, but the reality is that 5,000 people may have gone through JobsBridge, but not too many got a job out of it. It's been unmasked as nothing more than a cheap labour scam, with a couple of hundred actually getting a job at the end of it. And instead, what we've seen in actual fact is an assault on the idea of a permanent pensionable job, which is becoming something that people are almost ashamed of. And that's the record of this government, one that has facilitated a race to the bottom. Everybody knows these are difficult times, that's obvious, but the point that's been missed really is that there is an alternative, that the difficult choices which are being foisted on people are being foisted on those at the bottom. The bottom 10% of the population has seen a 26% reduction in income, while those at the top have seen their wealth increase by 8% over the course of this government's record. And that's a direct result of your policy. And we do see a vicious campaign against public sector workers, who are supposed to be the root of all evil, thanks to independent newspapers and others. But meanwhile, we see the real face of it outside today. Teachers starting off now will be on a take-home pay of roughly about €100 more than somebody on the minimum wage. People getting a handful of hours work a week, hanging around schools hoping that someone will get sick so they get a job. They can't get social welfare because they're working every day. They can't get FIS because they're not working 19 hours. And the government's answer is, well, we can't change the computer system to accommodate you. And what you're standing over really is upside-down economics, the opposite of what actually should be done. And really what we see is the opportunity being used to go after benefits and the welfare state that was built up and fought for over decades, and to reverse that and stand it on its head. We see a lot of talk about competitiveness and wages, but wages only make up 2% of the measure of competitiveness, and in actual fact are not a problem at all. This government's approach was summed up to me by an email I got yesterday, telling me that there was going to be a 24-hour McDonald's open in Swords, and I was being invited to the official opening of a 24-hour McDonald's by the Minister for Jobs. Now, is this government going to get real? Any jobs at all that will be created, any value will be knocked out by the claims in obesity and the drain on the health service of such outlets. But really, what she should be saying is this, hanging around after the private sector is not delivering, and you've got to stand policies on its head. Now, we wouldn't expect anything more, to be honest, of Fine Gael. But for the Labour Party, it is an absolute embarrassment. Have the penny not dropped that the private sector can't deliver anymore? And the only way to turn things around is actually a state-led stimulus package of socially necessary work that needs to be done, that could make Ireland a better place. And every time we've raised this, the government have said, oh, where are we going to get the money? The same people who've no problem going out borrowing money to pay unsecured bondholders and a bank debt that was nothing to do with us. Why can't you go to the European Investment Bank and seek funds for the likes of the ESB, who have a tremendous record as a powerful semi-state company, to invest in the tremendous wind and wave energy resources that could be a lead internationally and not just in Ireland? To have the type of pioneering spirit that was delivered around programmes like Ardna Crusha and the early years of the ESB. Instead, we see these being handed over to private companies, many of them with former Labour Party people on them, who stand to benefit billions. Unless we take a lead in this, invest, go out, borrow from the European Investment Bank, use through incentives some of the funds in private pension schemes or in credit union investments, which can be linked to job creation measures in Ireland. Unless we do that, then we're going to be left with ministers running around opening 24-hour McDonald's, an absolute laughing stock.
Thank you, Deputy. Next speaker is Deputy Maureen O'Sullivan.